Right now, without even trying, you're running a voice inside your head. It's been talking all day. And a Stanford cell biologist and a 1920s mystic discovered the same unsettling thing about it. That voice isn't describing your life. It's writing it. Stop for a second and actually listen to it. That running commentary. I'm tired. I can't afford that. I always mess this up. Why do I even bother? Most of us treat that voice as a weather report, just a neutral readout of how things are. But what if it isn't reporting the weather? What if it's making it? Because that's the claim I kept running into. In cell biology, in neuroscience, in Toltec shamanism, in books written 100 years apart. Different words, same idea. Your inner speech isn't a mirror. It's a set of instructions. Joseph Murphy, who wrote one of the best-selling books on the mind of the last century, put it bluntly. Your subconscious mind can't take a joke. It takes you literally. So every time you mutter, "I'm broke," or "I'm not good enough," it doesn't hear an opinion. It hears an order. And it quietly gets to work making the order true. Think about your own morning. Before your feet even touch the floor, the voice has already run its script. Not enough sleep. Long day ahead. I'm behind again. You didn't decide to think those. They arrived right on schedule. Because you've rehearsed them 10,000 times. And the cell biologist Bruce Lipton says the stakes are even higher than they feel. Roughly 95% of your day runs from subconscious programs, most of them installed before you were 7 years old. You didn't choose most of that script. You inherited it from parents, teachers, a culture. Your willpower, the conscious 5%, is basically arguing with a recording that's been playing since childhood. And usually the recording wins. And here's something worth sitting with. No one talks to you more than you do. Not your parents, not your partner, not the news. You are the single most persuasive voice in your entire life, repeating thousands of silent sentences a day. The most quoted author you will ever read is you. Here's the part that should stop you cold. You are already using this power, right now, every single day. Most people are just aiming it at themselves. So for the next few minutes, I want to do two things. First, show you 8 teachers, mystics and scientists, who never met, landing on the exact same mechanism for how the inner voice builds a life. And second, the part you actually came for. Why saying nice things to yourself usually doesn't work, and the small change that finally makes it stick. Stay with me to the end for that, because it's the whole game. Let's start in 1925, with a woman named Florence Scovel Shinn. She was a New York artist who became one of the first modern teachers of affirmation. And her central image was simple. Your word, she said, is your wand. She was decades ahead of everyone. Before the neuroscience, before the entire self-help industry existed, she was telling people that the words they spoke, even the idle ones, muttered in traffic or under their breath, were never idle at all. Every single one was quietly setting a law in motion, not a metaphor for being nice. She meant it mechanically. A word is a vibratory force. You speak it, it presses into the subconscious, and it externalizes as your circumstances. Wave the wand carelessly, and you enchant your own life in the wrong direction. Fast forward to Neville Goddard, the mystic who quietly seeded most of the modern manifestation world. For Neville, 2 words carry everything. I am. He taught that I am is the creative ground itself, and whatever word you attach to it, you summon into being. I am exhausted. I am unlucky. I am becoming who I want to be. Each one is a command, not a comment. Shinn watched this play out with her own students in New York. Ordinary people who changed a single stubborn sentence they'd been repeating for years, and watched the matching circumstance slowly loosen its grip. Not because words are a magic trick, because the word is the instruction the deeper mind had been waiting for all along. And from a completely different tradition, Toltec shamanism, Don Miguel Ruiz arrives at the same doorway, the very first of his 4 agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Ruiz says the word is pure magic, the most powerful tool you have. And self-criticism? He calls it black magic, a spell you cast on your own reflection. 3 teachers, 3 centuries of tradition, 1 conclusion. The word doesn't describe you, it shapes you. Now, it's easy to hear the mystics and think, lovely, but that's just poetry. So here's the question that matters. How? How could a sentence you repeat in your head actually change your body and your life? This is where it gets strange, because the scientists answer it. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the most successful people alive. His method wasn't magic. It was autosuggestion, deliberately repeating an emotionalized statement, out loud, twice a day, until the subconscious accepts it as fact. He was specific about it. Write the statement down. Read it out loud, morning and night. And here's the crucial part most people skip. Read it with emotion, until you can feel it as already true. 100 years before brain scans, Hill had already found the 2 ingredients neuroscience would later confirm: repetition and feeling. Repetition plus emotion. That's the install method. Say it enough times, feel it enough times, and it stops being something you think and becomes something you assume. And here's where a laboratory catches up to the mystics. Bruce Lipton's field is epigenetics, how genes get switched on and off. His finding, it isn't the DNA that runs the show. It's the signal the cell receives from its environment. And your beliefs, your inner state, are part of that environment. Your thoughts alter your chemistry, and that chemistry becomes a signal that tells your genes which programs to run. Florence Scovel said your word is a wand. 80 years later, a cell biologist basically said the same thing, in the language of genes. Sit with that for a second. A mystic in 1925 and a scientist in 2005, pointing at the identical mechanism from opposite ends of the map. The neuroscientist Joe Dispenza fills in the wiring. A thought fires a chemical feeling. That feeling generates more thoughts just like it. Repeat the loop, and, his words, the feeling becomes a mood. The mood becomes a temperament. The temperament becomes your personality. Dispenza didn't get this from a textbook. He shattered 6 vertebrae in an accident, refused the surgery, and spent weeks doing nothing but mentally rehearsing his spine healing, building the body he wanted in his imagination first. He walked again in about 10 weeks. Rehearsed thought, made physical. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Your repeated self-talk is literally building the neural hardware that then runs on its own. So the mystics and the scientists agree completely. Repetition is how a sentence quietly becomes a self. Now, maybe part of you is still resisting this. Fair enough. So let me give you the proof. Proof that the subconscious acts on belief and not on facts. You don't need a temple for it. You need a pharmacy. It's called the placebo effect. Murphy called it the law of belief. Give someone a sugar pill they're convinced is real medicine, and their body produces genuine, measurable healing. The pill did nothing. The belief did everything. The subconscious accepted a conviction and rewrote the biology to match it. And Lipton points at the exact same thing from the lab, then names its dark twin, the nocebo. Believe something will harm you, and the body obeys that instruction too. So think about what you've been telling yourself all day. Every "I'm falling apart" is a nocebo you swallow without water. That's the whole mechanism, and it's been sitting in plain sight in hospitals for decades. Your inner voice is a prescription, and you write it and fill it 1,000 times a day. Okay, so if it's this simple, just repeat better words, then why have your affirmations felt like lying to a mirror? You've stood there saying, "I am wealthy, I am confident," and heard a quiet voice in the back going, "No, you're not." Here's the missing piece, and it's the most important part of this whole video. The Abraham Hicks teachings put it plainly. It was never the words. It's the feeling behind them. An affirmation spoken from doubt doesn't broadcast the words. It broadcasts the doubt. Your subconscious doesn't read your grammar. It reads your emotional state. Say the perfect sentence in a body that's clenched with fear, and the fear is the message that lands. The words are just packaging. Murphy even had a name for the backfire: the law of reversed effort. The harder you strain to force a belief you don't actually feel, the more you confirm its opposite. Say I am calm through gritted teeth, and the straining itself is the real message. No, I'm not. Effort is the tell. The subconscious hears the struggle, not the sentence. The psychiatrist David Hawkins mapped this. A word carries the energy of the state it's spoken from. A positive phrase voiced from shame still calibrates as shame. The altitude you speak from matters more than the script you recite. Picture two people saying the identical words. I've got this. One says it from quiet certainty. The other says it to drown out panic. Same three words, opposite broadcast, and life answers the broadcast every time, never the vocabulary, which is exactly why Neville never said just repeat it. He said feel it real. Assume the feeling of the wish already fulfilled. The feeling is the reality. The words only point at it. And Eckhart Tolle adds the final warning. Forcing a positive thought on top of unfelt pain is just more noise in the head. You don't win a war with the negative voice. You meet it with presence, and only then can a genuinely new state rise. So the fix was never louder. The fix is closing the gap between the word and the feeling. So here they all are. A mystic, a shaman, a minister, a success researcher, a cell biologist, a neuroscientist, and a channeled voice from the 80s. 8 roads, 1 intersection. Now let's turn it into something you can actually do tonight. 5 steps, drawn from all of them. And notice what this is not. It's not say one affirmation and wait for a miracle. That's the exact version that already failed you. Every step here is built to do one thing. Close the gap between the words you speak and the state you speak them from. That gap is the whole secret the tradition's been guarding. 1. Catch the broadcast. For one day, just listen to your default self-talk without fixing it. You can't overwrite a program you can't hear. Lipton and Murphy both start here. Awareness first. 2. Speak in the present and feel it. Not, I will be confident. I am. And here's the key from Hicks and Goddard. If I am wealthy feels like a lie, don't force it. Soften it to something true. I'm learning to trust myself. Bridge to where the word and the feeling can finally agree. 3. Plant it at the threshold. The drowsy minutes right before sleep and just after waking are when the subconscious is wide open. Murphy and Hill both aimed their practice there. Speak your chosen words into that doorway, soaked in the feeling that they're already real. 4. Guard the word all day. This is Ruiz. Catch the self-attack mid-sentence and refuse to finish it. Every time you interrupt the old groove, you weaken it. Impeccability isn't perfection. It's not casting spells on yourself anymore. 5. Meet resistance with presence. The old self will fight back. It always does. Don't wage war on it. That's Tolle and Hawkins. Feel the discomfort without believing its story, and gently return to the word. Raising the state you speak from is the real work. Do that, and something shifts. You stop being the one the voice happens to, and become the one who speaks. Because the voice was never describing your life, it was dictating it. The only question left is the one you've been able to answer since the moment you started watching. Whose voice is it going to be? So tell me down in the comments, what's the one sentence you're going to stop saying to yourself? Be specific. Naming it is where it starts to lose its grip. And if you felt that click, that these people are all saying the same thing feeling, go watch the video where we take it further and ask why you never feel good enough and what consciousness says about it. It's the natural next step from here. I'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Let us know in the comments what you'd like us to cover next. And check out our website, thedeepsynthesis.com, where we go deeper on every topic, plus a free convergence map waiting for you.